top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. The U.S. pharmaceutical company Pfizer will ensure supply of COVID-19 vaccine to the Philippines after it is approved for distribution. According to Philippine ambassador to the U.S., vaccines could be made available by the first quarter of 2021. Our Malacanang senior correspondent, Jeneline Cabiling, tells us more.
A United States-based drug company is prepared to supply potential coronavirus vaccine to the Philippines at a reasonable price by early next year. Philippine ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, said Pfizer might sell the vaccine at $5 per shot to the Philippines once it gets regulatory approval from both U.S. and Philippine authorities. Pfizer recently announced that initial late-stage clinical trials showed its vaccine is more than 90% effective in protecting the people from the coronavirus. Safety data, however, will still be needed before getting the U.S. authorization.
Ayan, pag na-approve na yan, which hopefully will come sooner than soon, dahil ma-approve na dito sa US FDA ang Pfizer vaccines, then we can start talking to Pfizer kung ilan ang mga pwede nilang i-supply sa atin almost immediately. No? They're trying their best to also. Siyempre, maraming mga bayan na gusto rin nila ng vaccine galing dito sa Amerika. So, but we have been given some sort of priority dahil kinausap nga ni Secretary Locsin si Secretary Pompeo maybe 3 months ago at humingi ng tulong na kung pwede bigyan tayo ng pagkakataon to receive these vaccines coming here from the United States.
Romualdez said if the vaccine production starts this year, Pfizer would have to prioritize vaccine supply to the United States, which reportedly needs 100 million doses. Romualdez admitted that Pfizer was the first U.S. drug manufacturer that reached out to the Philippine authorities about its potential vaccine supply. He added that he has close communication with Pfizer's country manager in the Philippines.
And by the way, we were assured by Pfizer that their pricing for this thing is not going to be what some people are trying to say is going to be very expensive. Dahil they want to make sure that everybody will have an opportunity to get this. And they're trying to give it to countries like the Philippines, allies of the United States, at reasonably priced vaccines. So it's not really going to cost it because it's volume. Malaki ang kailangan natin. So definitely, it will depend on how many we get it for the first batch. Pero at the end of the day, lahat tayo magkakaroon ng pagkakataon to get the vaccines our choice. Kung saan natin gusto either Western or the others that have been approved by our FDA.
If Pfizer gets approval from the United States and the Philippines Food and Drug Authority, Romualdez said vaccines could be made available by the first quarter of 2021. He said the company has not asked for any down payment but a purchase order in case the government is interested in the vaccine acquisition. For MB Now, this is Jen Cabiling reporting.
President Rodrigo Duterte assured Filipinos that the government can borrow $300 million to purchase vaccines against coronavirus disease. The president believes that there is hope for mankind as the coronavirus vaccines are within reach. Our Malacanang senior correspondent, Jeneline Cabiling, has more.
The government can borrow $300 million to purchase the coronavirus vaccines for distribution to Filipinos. This was assured by President Duterte Tuesday amid the reported breakthrough in vaccine development abroad. In bearing the government's vaccine acquisition plans, the president said the new coronavirus disease is no longer scary. as some pharmaceutical companies in the United States and China have made progress in developing life-saving vaccines. According to the president, there is hope for mankind as the coronavirus vaccines are within reach.
Nandito na ang bakuna. So, it's being sold. Yung iba sa, I don't know, it would be not good to assume that there's a black market for that. But Sonny says that he can borrow money of 300 million plus. Kaya nga, umpisa natin sa mga mahirap, pataas na ano. Let's start with A, B, C, D, E. The lowest sa E, yung talagang mahirap na wala. Then pakyat tayo dandahan.
Duterte, however, admitted that the country would get the vaccine supply in due time, given that the foreign pharmaceutical companies will naturally prioritize their nations first. In the United States, he noted that the federal government has made a first installment for the vaccine supply for its citizens.
Makapabili tayo, but I think it would do as well to also realize that unahin talaga nila yung mga tao nila. China na Pfizer of America, meron na sila. So, hindi na nakakatakot talaga ang COVID. But sa pagkangayon, magbili ka mahal. As I have promised, gastos ng gobyerno itong bakuna para sa lahat ng Pilipino.
As soon as more vaccine supply becomes available, Duterte committed that the government would give priority to the country's poor in the distribution of the vaccines. The chief executive claimed that those belonging to the socio-economic classes A, B, and C could afford to buy their own vaccine. For MB Now, this is Jen Kabiling reporting.
Stepping up his anti-corruption campaign, President Duterte has offered a cash incentive of as much as 100,000 pesos to any person who can provide information about any ghost project and other conspiracy to commit an illegal act in government. Addressing the nation Tuesday night, the president said he is willing to shell out 50 to 100,000 pesos for information that will flag an anomalous government contract and unmask the syndicate behind it. Duterte has also expressed dismay with rampant corruption in government, assured that informants may remain anonymous if they want, and vowed to ensure their protection. The president said he would protect the identity of tipsters, adding he would come to their aid if they get harassed by the people involved in the anomalous project. Once he gets the information about the suspected anomalous project, Duterte said he would allow it to ripen into a crime and take the next appropriate action. He said the contract becomes the evidence that can be used against the people involved in the anomaly. The president made the remarks after reading aloud another set of names of immigration and public works personnel suspended or charged by the Office of the Ombudsman.
Kayo mga casual, ilang taon na. All you have to do is to let me know. And may price ako. Pagka meron kang malaki, if it's a malaking sindikato, ghost project ni director, putang ina, I'll give you 50,000. Bulong mo lang baski sino. Yung kaibigan mo, huwag ka na magbigay ng pangalan. Sabihin mo lang yung kontrata, dito, ganito, ganito. So yun sa gobyerno, maybe Secretary Roque or Sunny Dominguez. Pag mamalaking mga contract, huwag mo lang sabihin pangalan mo, ibulong mo lang na niluluto yan. I'll give you 100,000.
Tropical cyclone Ulysses has intensified into a typhoon and may unleash destructive winds and intense rains when it traverses central Luzon towards Wednesday midnight until early Thursday. In its 4 p.m. severe weather bulletin, the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration said Ulysses was at 60 kilometers north of Dayat, Camarines Norte, and has gained more strength while still at sea. It was packing maximum sustained winds of 140 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 195 kilometers per hour while moving west at 20 kilometers per hour. It may reach a peak intensity of 130 to 155 kilometers per hour prior to landfall. As a stronger Ulysses inches closer to the country, Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal number 3 was declared over Metro Manila, eastern portions of Pampanga, Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, Rizal, Catanduanes, Camarines Norte, and northern portions of Camarines Sur. Signal number 2 was raised over the central and southern portions of Quirino, central and southern portions of Nueva Vizcaya, southern portion of Benguet, southern portion of La Union, Pangasinan, Zambales, Bataan, Tarlac, and the rest of Pampanga. Signal number 1 was also up in Isabela, the rest of Quirino, the rest of Nueva Vizcaya, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, the rest of Benguet, Abra, Ilocos Sur, the rest of La Union, the rest of Occidental Mindoro, the rest of Oriental Mindoro, Romblon, the rest of Masbate, northern Samar, northern portions of Samar, and northern portions of eastern Samar. Meanwhile, Malacanang suspended classes at all levels and work in the government at 3 in the afternoon today until tomorrow in Regions 2, 3, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Region 5, Cordillera Administrative Region, and the National Capital Region. In Metro News, Mayor Isko signs Gender and Development Code Ordinance. Muntinlupa records all-time high COVID-19 patient recovery rate of 96%. And Quezon City Government to open new animal pound next year. More from this report.
The City of Manila now has a Gender and Development or GAD code that will protect and ensure equality among all genders with the signing of a city ordinance. Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Dumagoso on Tuesday signed Ordinance number 8681 in line with the city's goal to be the best gender-responsive government unit in the Philippines. The local chief said the city government shall pursue and implement vigorously gender-responsive development policies, design and integrate specific gender support system, also to take into consideration women's and girls' right to economic survival, political participation, self-determination, and personal empowerment. Muntinlupa City's patients' recovery rate from COVID-19 has further increased to 95.83%, an all-time high since the pandemic began. The Muntinlupa City Health Office said COVID-19 doubling time, or the number of days for cases to double in number, has improved to 19.57%, which means the transmission of the disease has slowed down in the city. As of November 9, Muntinlupa has 45 active COVID-19 cases, the second lowest in Metro Manila. Muntinlupa also recorded the lowest prevalence rate of 0.08 in the National Capital Region as of November 10. Its prevalence rate, or the number of the cases over the total population, is below the acceptable rate of 1. Amid concerns raised by an animal rights group regarding their treatment to animals in its existing pound, the Quezon City government is set to open another pound to provide better temporary shelter services for stray animals. The local government on Tuesday said the construction of a 450 square meter city pound in Empire View subdivision at Barangay Payatas is already ongoing and is expected to be finished by the first quarter of next year. QC Mayor Joy Belmonte expressed her willingness to partner with animal welfare groups to manage and improve the handling of impounded animals, and that she's currently in talks with the group Posyon Project.
Here are the top news in other parts of the country. Luzon dams prepared for the onslaught of Ulysses. Cebu City cancels activities related to the Sinulog festivals. And Bukidnon Mall ordered closed due to COVID-19 outbreak. More from this report.
The Ambuklao, Binga, and Magat dams in Luzon are being prepared for the onslaught of Tropical Storm Ulysses with international name BAMCO, which may develop into a typhoon by Wednesday. The dams released water on Tuesday as a precaution against structural problems that can arise if Ulysses raises their water levels to dangerous elevations. According to Pag-asa, Ulysses may bring moderate to heavy rainfall on Wednesday and Thursday over Benguet Province where Ambuklao and Binga dams are located, and in Isabela Province where Magat Dam is. Pag-asa expects Ulysses to be already moving westwards on Wednesday and outside the Philippine area of responsibility by Saturday. Some sinulog-related activities in Cebu City for the Feast of the Child Jesus in January 2021 have been cancelled due to the coronavirus disease pandemic. In a joint advisory, the officials have decided to cancel the Penitential Walk with Jesus on the opening salvo, Penitential Walk with Mary on the last day of the novena, Traslasyon of the images of the Santo Niño and Our Lady of Guadalupe from Cebu City to Mandaue City and from Mandaue City to Lapu-Lapu City, the fluvial procession and the reenactment of the first baptism, the planting of the cross and first wedding, the solemn foot procession, and proposed Cebu provincial pilgrimages. Authorities said Basilica Minore del Santo Niño de Cebu will reschedule the activities to the upcoming 500th anniversary of the arrival of Santo Niño image in April 2021. The local government of Valencia City in Bukidnon has ordered the temporary closure of a shopping mall after one of its employees tested positive for the coronavirus disease and infected 18 co-workers. The infected employee contracted the virus from her husband, who got it following a wedding at a hotel where he was working. All of the employees of the mall have been subjected to COVID-19 testing, and those who were found to be positive were already at the city's isolation facilities. The city government has also declared a 500-meter radius around the mall as the containment zone, where any movement would be limited to accessing essential goods and services.
In world news, Biden brands Trump's refusal to concede an embarrassment. Typhoon Eta, death toll rises to 57 in hard-hit Honduras. And Scottish Oil City tests world's first hydrogen double-decker buses. Let's watch this report.
President-elect Joe Biden on Tuesday called President Donald Trump's refusal to concede his election loss an embarrassment, but dismissed the standoff as unimportant. A week after the U.S. election, Trump remained shut up in the White House, pushing an alternate reality that he's about to win and fighting lawsuits alleging voter fraud that so far have been backed up by only the flimsiest evidence. The Democrats signaled that despite attempts by Trump to stymie his transition to power, he was increasingly a president in waiting.
I just think it's an embarrassment. Quite frankly, the only thing that, how can I say this tactfully? I think it will not help the president's legacy.
57 people have died and 8 are missing in Honduras following tropical storm Eta, authorities announced Monday, as the death toll doubled in one of the country's worst hit by the storm. Eta slammed into Central America last week as Category 4 hurricane, leaving over 200 people across the region dead or missing. President Juan Orlando Hernandez thanked U.S. soldiers from a joint task force base in Palmerola in the center of the country, as well as neighboring El Salvador for their help in assisting the victims. The Scottish city of Aberdeen, famous from building its economy on North Sea oil, is preparing to launch a fleet of 15 of the world's first double-decker hydrogen-powered buses onto its streets and its transitions for its oil to green energy. The buses are in the final testing stages. Drivers will be properly trained to make the safety of the buses. The $10.8 million project is funded by the Aberdeen City Council, the Scottish Government, and the European Union, and each bus is an investment of around $652,000 US dollars.
In entertainment, K-pop boy band EXO member Kai will be debuting as a solo artist with the release of his first album this month. Kai will drop his first solo mini album, Kai, on November 30, which will contain 6 songs. This is his first solo album in 8 years after debuting in EXO in 2012. The pre-sale of Kai will start today, November 11, through different online and offline record stores. Through the album, 26-year-old Kai will follow the footsteps of fellow EXO members who have made their solo debuts, including Baekhyun, Suho, and Chen. Kai is also a member of the boy band Super M. In sports, Christmas will come early for national athletes and coaches as the Philippine Sports Commission announced Wednesday it will restore their allowances by the first week of December. The government sports agency said it has confirmed receipt of the 180 million pesos funding under the Bayanihan Act 2 with the necessary administration to effect the remittance being done at the moment. National athletes in team sports are also set to receive the remaining 50% of their June and July allowances and will continue to receive their full allowances until December along with the rest of Team Philippines. Athletes and coaches will also receive an additional 5,000 pesos as monetary assistance brought by the pandemic. PSC Chairman Butch Ramirez thanked the Congress, Senate, and President Duterte for including the athletes in the coverage of Republic Act number 11494. The athletes' monthly allowances were slashed into half since July after PSC's budget were channeled to pandemic efforts. But Philippine Olympic Committee President Bambol Tolentino, who is also Tagaytay representative, was able to include a provision in the House bill, an amount that would cover all the trimmed allowances over the past months. There are 996 athletes, 262 coaches, 280 differently abled athletes, and 82 para coaches in the national team. Their total monthly payroll is 41 million pesos. Many gadgets and technologies have made its way within the walls of the Manila Bulletin headquarters. In the Manila Bulletin's Tech Lab, many nostalgic gadgets are housed and on display. For this episode of Tech Talk, our Manila Bulletin Tech News editor Art Samaniego features a gadget released in the early 2000s and was used during a big event in the country. Let's watch this.
Hello and good day. This is Art Samaniego and welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. Here in the Manila Bulletin Tech Lab, we are surrounded with gadgets from the past and from the present. A lot of nostalgic gadgets are housed here, from the early models of the Nokia phones to the gaming consoles many of you might consider as the grandfather of the present-day gaming consoles. In today's episode, we take a throwback to one of these gadgets. In 2019, Thoraya Telecommunications Company launched the Thoraya XT satellite phone. Satellite phones are useful, especially when traveling to far-flung areas or during calamities such as the recent Typhoon Rolly. Satellite phones like the Thoraya XT is designed to make sure you are connected even in the harshest of environments. It has an advanced omnidirectional antenna that gives the user uninterrupted signal calls, most especially when moving around. The battery life gives you about 80 hours of standby time and 6 hours of talk time. Its physical keyboard will give you all the late 1990s feels. Remember the text language everyone was using back then? This satellite phone unit in particular holds memories here in Manila Bulletin, as this was our main source of communication when Pope Francis visited the country in 2015. And that's Tech Talk for this week. Join us again next time for another episode of Tech Talk. Be fully informed.
And those are the news on web today, November 11, 2020. It's 44 days before Christmas. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. You may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.